All You Need to Know, the Bloomberg Quint podcast that prepares you for the day's business.
Good morning and thanks for tuning in. This is the All You Need to Know podcast on Bloomberg Quint and I'm Alex Matthew. You're just a few hours away from the weekend. Here's everything that you need to know to stay ahead of the curve. First up, we've now been receiving almost daily updates on the shortfall in GST compensation cess to states and the options available to bridge that gap. Here's the latest. In what is seemingly a concession, the central government will borrow the 1.1 lakh crore rupees and pass the funds on to states as loans to meet the GST compensation shortfall. The position is a change from the stance so far, which was that states would need to borrow via a special window. The borrowing by the central government would avoid the situation where individual states may have to pay varying interest rates based on the market yields on their respective state development loans. That's according to a Ministry of Finance statement. The central government borrowing and loaning the amount to states will be an administratively easier arrangement, according to that statement. The central government's borrowing calendar for the remaining fiscal, that is the October 19th to the end of March 2021, has been modified to account for the GST compensation financing of 1.1 lakh crore. So don't forget to check for the reaction in the market for government bonds later this morning. In news on the economy, after contracting for 6 straight months, India's exports rose 6% to $27.6 billion in September on account of growth in shipments of drugs and pharmaceuticals and ready-made garments, as per the government data released yesterday. Imports, meanwhile, have declined 19.6% to $30.3 billion in September. Speaking of imports, the government yesterday banned imports of air conditioners with a view to promote domestic manufacturing and cut imports of non-essential items. China was the largest exporter of ACs to India, with imports of the item totaling over 700 crore rupees from that country in the first 4 months of the current financial year. In other news, borrowings by Odisha-based microfinance lender Sambandh Finserv have been downgraded to default rating by Brickwork Ratings after the company failed to repay lenders and allegations of fraud emerged. The rating agency said it has downgraded non-convertible debentures worth 50 crore rupees and fund-based term loans worth 383 crore rupees availed by Sambandh Finserv to D from BBB- earlier. According to the rating agency, it was informed by Sambandh Finserv's Chief Financial Officer James Raj that internal fraud was unearthed at the end of September, wherein a large number of bogus loan entries were made in the company's book of accounts. In international news, applications for US state unemployment benefits unexpectedly jumped last week to the highest since August, and Americans increasingly moved to longer-term jobless aid. Both are troubling signs for a labor market whose recovery from the pandemic was already slowing. Initial jobless claims in regular state programs totaled 898,000 in the week ended the 10th of October, up 53,000 from the prior week. On an adjusted basis, the figure posted the single largest one-week increase since July. In other international news, China is set to pass a new law that would restrict sensitive exports vital to national security, expanding its toolkit of policy options as competition grows with the US over access to technology. China's top legislative body, that is the National People's Congress Standing Committee, is expected to adopt the measure in a session that concludes on Saturday. It would apply to all companies in China, including foreign invested ones. In international markets, US stocks fell, but not by much. The Dow ended flat, while the S&P 500 fell a little more than 0.1%. The Nasdaq declined by about 0.5%. And that tone has carried over into the Asia-Pacific market this morning, with the 3 early risers starting flat to marginally negative. And with that, it's over to Hormuz Fatakia for the trade setup for the day in India. Good morning, Hormuz. How are we looking today?
Good morning to you, Alex, and to our listeners as well. Double the time, but double the fall as well. If it was 60 minutes that led to a sharp market recovery on Wednesday, it took 120 minutes for a sharper correction on the weekly options expiry day. The 2.5% fall in both Sensex and Nifty not only ended a 10-day winning streak, but also wiped off gains of 6 out of the last 10 trading sessions. It was the Nifty Bank which turned out to be the, as you say, match ka mujrim, as some channels like to call it, declining over 800 points. So what's in store for us today? I'll start with HCL Technologies, which will be reporting numbers pre-market open. The company had guided for a revenue growth to be above 3.5% this quarter and margins to range between 20.5 to 21%. So watch out for the reaction in this stock at market open. And since I'm with IT and on the topic of earnings, let me also update you on the results reported by two mid-cap IT stocks, which were Mindtree and Cyient. I'll start off with Cyient first. The company is positive on the outlook for the second half of FY21. However, it expects a decline in its aerospace business due to seasonality challenges and lower work days. It has also guided for a double-digit decline in revenue for the full year. The company's results this quarter were on par with analyst estimates, with margins expanding due to lower employee costs. Also, Mindtree's constant currency growth during the quarter stood at 2.1%, while net profit and EBIT saw double-digit growth compared to the previous quarter. It has also declared an interim dividend of 7.5 rupees a share. Away from IT, Hathway Cable returned to profitability in the September quarter as compared to a net loss last year, led by lower finance costs. The company's broadband business saw a growth of 10% as compared to the previous year. Well, it's an action-packed day for companies reporting earnings. Other than HCL Tech, Bajaj Consumer Care, Federal Bank, Philips Carbon Black, IIFL Securities, Shoppers Stop, Tata Communications are only some of the non-index names that will be reporting results today. Away from earnings, watch out for AstraZeneca Pharma, which will be launching Calquence in India on the 21st of October. This drug is used to treat various forms of blood cancer. And as Alex mentioned about the ban on AC imports earlier in the piece, watch out for the reaction in stocks like Voltas, Blue Star and their peers. Also keep an eye out for some of the metal names. Alcoa's shares slid the most since June in overnight trading after the company projected a weak outlook for its aluminium business for the fourth quarter amidst rising costs. The company's earnings, however, were better than estimates. In some key brokerage updates, Bernstein has upgraded HDFC Bank to outperform from their previous rating of market perform and has also raised its price target to 1350 rupees from the earlier target of 960. Let me take you through some of the stocks that bucked the trend in Thursday's session. Well, on a day when it was difficult to spot gainers, Just Dial stood out, and how. The stock ended 12.5% higher at the highest level in over 7 months. Petronet LNG was the other one that bucked the trend. The stock ended with gains of close to 4%, the most in over 3 weeks. And lastly, a mention for the new listing Likita Infrastructure, which couldn't have found a more inopportune day to make its stock market debut. Having said that, it stood tall amidst the ruins, ending 14% higher than its issue price of 120 rupees a share. Early ticks on the SGX Nifty indicate that the index is trading 70 points higher, around the mark of 11,760. As of closing on Thursday, both Sensex and Nifty are down 2%, courtesy the fall we had. Do log into BloombergQuint.com to keep yourself updated on the latest happenings in the markets ahead of the day's trade. That's all from me this week. I wish you all a happier weekend and hope that the markets head into my birthday week on a positive note. And it's back to you, Alex.
Thanks, Hormus. You have a great weekend too. And to you, dear listener, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope that this podcast was useful to you. Do stay tuned over the course of the day for more updates on the website BloombergQuint.com. Thanks so much for listening. This is Alex Matthews signing off. Have a great day and an even better weekend.
I hope you enjoyed listening to All You Need to Know. Did you know that you can listen to the show on the IVM Podcast app? On the IVM Podcast app, along with this, we have a number of other shows which you think you'll enjoy. Listen to Cyrus Says with Cyrus Brocha as the host. Listen to Pesa Vesa with Anupam Gupta. The Scene and the Unseen with Amit Verma, or Shunya One hosted by Shiladitya Mukhopadhyay and myself. Check out the IVM Podcast app to get more talk content that you will enjoy.